your mental's right. We got to make sure physically you're right. You got to make sure that we take care of, those provisions that the Bible highlights, man, that look, food, clothing, we got to get rid of that stuff. That cannot be no longer the battle and the end all be all of why people get up. There shouldn't be a conversation, man, I'm getting up so I can go eat. What? Very basic. Very, very basic, especially when we have food pantries out here. Very, very basic when you have organizations that give. But let's take a step further. Very basic when we have Black restaurants in our communities already that are providing meals, but then there isn't a program of sort yet, which we're about to get to, and create around supporting those restaurants to offer grants, to offer hot meals to families. So that way, let's remove that barrier. But anyway, that's the Fabric Impact House is a space that Brother Saran got a chance to tour. And, Israel's very proud of it. We're very proud of it. The members of the Impact House, which we call residents, they're very proud of it. And we're excited about really just kind of that first phase of that work, and then getting ready to create an impact fund, which we're going to be looking for the state to partner with us on. So then we can partner back with grantors and also corporations, corporate entities as well, around strictly giving around hunger, homelessness, economic development, and equity resources. Again,
now, let me pause you. So what's happening right now is you guys are incubating some of the leading grantors now. And so they're already doing what they do, which is issue grants. You guys got them in the same space talking to each other. So that's a plus and a value add right there, right? But now the impact fund is going to be you guys driving it now. And so there's no competition with them. Of course, the people want more money, so that's good on their part. So there's no competition, right, in terms of the impact fund and those grantors?
Yep, great question and great intersection there. I mean, the reality is this: those grantors are still going to do and focus on the areas that they focus on, right? But we saw the value of when they came together around a COVID relief fund and how they were able to direct resources. We were able to give out grants and help out a lot of families, not-for-profit organizations, artists, people that needed help. So we said, look, next level for this, which was really kind of part of the foundation of it, which was being able to connect the grantors with the ground level people, being able to really kind of cut out these middle organizations that are taking the resources because they have the intellectual prowess, they have grant writers that have been trained, so they know how to check boxes, craft sentences, and speak the language, but they're not the ones really on the ground level doing the work. So with the Impact Fund is really dedicated towards targeting and supporting organizations doing the ground level that support the whole community in these different areas: homelessness, hunger, economic development, and equity resources. So we're going to ask the Impact House members to partner with us as well and contribute, but the leader in a lot of this is going to be our work with, the state. We got a couple sponsors at the state level, and State Representative LaShawn Ford, and then Deputy Majority Leader Emo Jones III, that are very supportive of the work that we've started doing and want to continue to push it forward further, so that way we can start to really see a difference at the ground level, because that's what's really.
Is this happening elsewhere, or is this would be pioneered here in Illinois? Like, is other California doing it, New York doing it?
No, so this isn't happening anywhere else in the US, let alone around the globe. So the Impact House really was the nation's first philanthropic hub. So to your point, an incubator for just grantors to come together and work. It's the first one. And so what we're doing is really monumental. Chicago has gotten a unique rap for the gun violence and all this other stuff because, that's what sells for the media, right? They can sell and all that stuff. But, there's a lot of creative minds. There's a lot of great talent in this city that typically leave the city because they don't have the proper support to stay here. And so that's what we want to make sure we do with the Impact Fund is, again, we're supporting the whole community, not the career portion yet, because that's what TREC is for. We'll get into that. But this is really just the foundation of life, foundations of family, foundations of neighborhoods, foundations of the needs of those families and these neighborhoods. And typically those 4 areas cover it: hunger, homelessness, economic development, and then obviously equity resources. So being able to provide access to a lot of things will give the neighborhoods a shot here. More importantly, a place where they know they can come and get help. And that's what we want to make sure people know, is that we want to make sure that there's a location in the city where no matter what and who, the people will know that they can come and get help. And we're going to be there to offer that help free of charge. It's not going to be any charge for this help and these resources and these grants. That's the goal.
Now, you guys been at this for how long? How many years?
So I think we've been working with Israel on this for about at least 3 years, going on 4. And then Izzy was working on this probably about a couple of years as well before we got this. So, I mean, we're collectively about 6 years, we've all been kind of grinding at this and putting this stuff together. So yeah, I mean, we're pretty excited. It's one of those things where you gotta stay locked in. You gotta believe what you're putting together, because people didn't quite understand it, and some people still don't. But then after the Impact House was stood up, people were coming to Israel like, oh, so that's what you were talking about,
right?
Yeah. So
some people visual. Yeah, they definitely visual. Now, it's some things that the community can do to support, though, because the impact you're going to have is inside the 20 zip codes that we have leaders in. So what are some of the things that the average everyday voter citizen can do?
Well, we're going to be making our case here with our sponsors. So we have 2 resolutions that I want to throw out there. So let me make sure I note those. Great question. Like, let me do this here. I got them pulled up. So in the Senate with Deputy Majority Leader Emil Jones III, we have Senate Resolution 262. And so that resolution is really speaking to the focus and the work around the Fabric Impact House, and then eventually here, the Fabric Branch Trek piece as well. And so that's one place. And then in the House, we have House Resolution HR 263. And so we, that's something that just speaking to members to support that, your local state representatives and state senators to support those resolutions that are going to be moving through the chambers. That's one of the ways that people can get involved and support what we're doing. But
you guys don't accept, you don't accept no donations, anything like that. It'll just be the advocacy part, right?
No. Yeah, we just need people to use their voice. The goal for us again is to give. One of the things that you learn and you see in the Bible is that whenever God, when a blessing is in motion, there's a benefit to both parties. Okay. There isn't like one party lose and the other party gains. No, when there's that blessing in motion, both parties win. So for us, our plan, like I said, is to offer everything that we're already doing it under the Impact House, but under Trek, once we stand up the other component, is to offer free of charge workforce development, job training, mentoring, and a place to be able to come and get guidance for high-level business concierge services, in addition to the grants that we're going to be rolling out with the creation of the Impact Fund. But, we need people, and we would love people to get behind us and support us. I mean, we're doing it regardless of whether people support us or not. But the reality is the power of unity, the power of understanding what's available. And so, like I said, the core of what we're doing is really about the community, the neighborhoods, and the people that live there that in some cases don't have that tons of interaction with their elected officials, but have real needs, have real issues that need to be addressed. We want to make sure we can step in that gap and fill that in, to be that bridge between obviously the elected officials and the people that really want to do well with different policies, but then at the same time too are disconnected from the day-to-day needs, that really can shape, what really helps a family or helps provide hope for, a young girl or a young boy out there. So those are the 2 resolutions. And then what we're planning to do as well is we are going to be seeking an appropriation to support some of this work as well, so we can make sure that we offer this stuff free of charge to the communities on the south and west sides of Chicago and beyond, for sure. So that's the next phase. Within about a week or so, the sponsors that we have are in line and supportive of working with getting Fabric Brands a state appropriation that will go to support the work of the Impact Fund, so we can dedicate money in those 4 pots, those 4 areas, and then we can use that support from the state to get matching money from our corporate partners and then from the grantors within Impact House, so that way they can still do their thing, but then we're also going to add to what they're doing because we're going to target our people on the ground level.
Now it's important for people to know, Dewan, your background in legislators and legislature. You get what I'm saying? You have a history of being in those circles with those people that make decisions, who control our purse strings, the dollars that we send to pay taxes. And so what you're talking about, the appropriation, is our money. It's just a matter of giving it into a source that we know is going to be making sure that it reaches where it's needed at, and not go through the traditional gatekeeper. So I wanted our people to, hear that from me, and then for you to just speak on that from that angle, that you know your way around politics, and you know the money is there, and some people are getting the money and they're not even in the state. So speak on that real quick, then I want to talk about Trek.
Yeah, so that's a great point, Saran. We pay taxes. We pay taxes at every level. When you buy something from Jewel, when you buy something from Aldi's, when you buy something from Target, Whole Foods, Mariano's, wherever you buy something from in Chicago, you pay for gas, right? You are paying a tax, and that tax dollar or that tax amount is being collected and going into a fund at the state level, at the city level, and at the county level. And so that is what's funding human services, programs. That is what's funding healthcare programs. That's what's partly funding some of the education programs. And so, for years, for decades, this is how the system is built. Everyone pay taxes, so that way the government has the ability to support communities or help or give out, match and do different things. And so what we're saying is that, look, here's the reality of it. We're going to go get a grant from the state because we want to focus on the tax dollars that have been coming out of the Black and brown communities, and out of the neighborhoods. We want to target those tax dollars to properly provide the level of support that they need based on what the needs are from the people. And so that's a very different approach than what is typically taken, because to Saran's point, agencies typically have certain organizations that can apply. They can fill out and complete this extensive application process to get the grant. They got the credentials, to be able to speak to, we're going to make sure that this stuff is spent properly and it's going to reach these people. But the reality is, if you don't live in the community that you say you're trying to help, and if you're not connected to organizations that are really doing the work, I'm not talking about some pastors. I'm not talking about historical organizations that have a different mission. So the Urban League, NAACP, great organizations, we have needed them. However, they can only do so much. And so when we talk about really getting to the ground level, getting to the ground, getting our hands dirty, and understanding, okay, on this block, we got 3 people that are, we got kids or family that is missing a meal. They're not getting access to food, right? So how do we make sure we target that? So what we're going to be doing is utilizing technology, building around our Fabric Brands app to be able to make sure that, number one, every person in this city can then log on, create an account for free. It's no charge. But then it gives them, we're going to have the ability to show them where the nearest food pantry is in their district, where they can go and get food that they want to cook and need to cook so they can eat. They just go get it, and we'll make sure we keep those things replenished, because we'll be providing grants through the appropriation that we're getting from the state to make sure those food pantries stay stocked. That's number one. 2, then working with local restaurants. So local restaurants, within those neighborhoods, we want to make sure we have a place for people to get a hot meal. So if you don't have time to cook, but you still need access to food, if we know there's a couple families and kids that need it because they, parents are working 2 or 3 jobs, they don't have time to cook, well, then we want to activate those restaurants that have the ability, that's all they do anyway as they cook, but then we can offer a grant around a hunger grant to them, to where if a family shows up, they show up with their credentials, meaning that, hey, I got my Fabric Brands membership, card or ID or account here, you're in the system, your restaurant was located or was pinged as a place where I can come and get me a hot meal, and they're gonna provide that hot meal free of charge. That's the type of stuff that we're trying to do, because that's how we really help solve some of the hunger issues that exist in our community. But you don't know who's hungry unless you're on the block or unless you're in the neighborhood. And so it's great that we've done these different things, but what we're looking to do is really get down to the macro and micro level of these things on engaging the folks that have the knowledge, have the connectivity to know who's who and what the needs are, because that's really what's missing from a lot of the work that a lot of the big organizations are doing. They're not connected again at that ground level, which is again why we created the Impact House, a place to bring these people together, and then we can start to target and work with them to really focus more on ground level impact giving, hence the term Impact House. We want to make sure people understand and know that their dollars are going to truly benefit and help a family. So that way, there's just really no reason at this point in our mind, and living in the US for sure, that people should have, be missing the opportunity to have access to food, right, or at least, canned goods or whatever food to be able to cook. Right. That should not be a problem. And as of May 5th, 2021, and this country's been around for over 300 years, shouldn't be a problem. But the issue has been not having the structure in place and the group of people and organizations working together to rethink how we target addressing these issues. And that's in essence what the Fabric Brands team is doing. We're not saying that people are doing things the wrong way. What we're saying is that there is another way to still have the same type of impact, right, but it's coming from the people that actually are from the neighborhoods, exactly, not from the people that are not from the neighborhoods and right, don't really know and understand what the real needs are and how to address them.
But you also bring in technology. Times are changing. You can work smarter and not harder now. You know what I mean? So you using technology, and that's what I love about what you guys represent: the innovation, the outside the box thinking, and then the access to the money and the people with money. So that's going to be a good marriage. And I want to make sure everyone know how different this is. This isn't the same. Food pantries exist, but what you're talking about is a mechanism to make sure that we don't miss anyone. And that's what we use in technology and new age to do that. So that's wonderful. So you that's part of Trek though. You went into Trek. So did you break that down so people can really get what Trek is?
Well, that's part of the Impact Fund's goal, right? So the Impact Fund, that's part of that narrative. But to your point, Trek ties into that, and the technology that we're going to be utilizing and the brains and intellectual power that's affiliated with the Trek model is what we're going to do. So TREC stands for the Technology Renewable Energy Command Center, okay? And so TREC is really going to be something that doesn't exist anywhere in the world, okay? And what I mean by that is because we have the partnership and the structure with the Fabric Impact House, it allows us to overlay that into what we're doing as well around, again, supporting the whole community, okay? And so TREC is going to be focusing on workforce development, skills training, but then also be a home for small businesses that people are just getting started. People want to do some great things, but they don't have the funds to go and get an office space inside of Willis Tower to be able to show to a company or a group that, hey, man, we can perform just as good as a big company. However, our capacity may not be at the same level, but we still have the ability to be agile and move, a little bit quicker and make adjustments quicker than bigger companies because we're smaller. So there's value in big companies, small companies, and mid-sized companies. But anyway, TREC is going to be a home for, there's going to be a mecca, in our opinion, for entrepreneurs, small businesses, and people that have talent that they need to understand how to develop, unlock, and deploy. And that's the focus. And so what we've highlighted within TREC, and I'll speak to just some of the focuses around the training that we're going to be offering. And again, this training that we're offering is going to be free of charge, no cost. So we're trying to remove the barrier and excuse of, I don't have access, or I don't know anyone. Like, we're going to have all the best minds, companies, and people that are giving their gift, using their gift to be able to help people find their way and navigate that, so that way we can truly develop our human capital, which is our people. We have to invest in people, but everyone has a gift that no one else has. And that's something that God has created within all of us. There are certain things that I can do that that Cyron can't do. There are certain things Cyron can do that is not meant for me to do because that's not part of my gift. It's not part of my calling, and that's not part of the people that I can touch. Cyron is connected to all of you people. I haven't met you guys yet, but that's part of his gift, and that's the power of the gift. There are certain people that in life we're going to be able to touch, we're going to be able to help, we're going to come across that I will never come across, or Cyron will never come across, that someone else will. So all the members here, all the governors and all the people that are part of what he's been doing here, for the last almost 3 decades has been amazing. But I've never met you guys. I never met you, but that's not part, it wasn't my time in that moment to meet you and meet everyone. But however, my gift is still supposed to be developed for your benefit, for you to use, and so wealth isn't necessarily about money and things. Wealth is about the people around you and the resources and how you can use those resources. If I was a corn farmer and Cyron was a spinach farmer, and I needed I needed spinach. His gift, he's probably got excess, spinach that he can utilize and say, hey, you don't even have to pay for it. You need something for your family. Here's enough, and it doesn't hurt his ability to go out there and sell and make his money and still make his living off of his gift. And the same with me and my corn. So that's a whole nother conversation. But we're doing,
that's the village, as we say, that's the village, right? Where everyone is right there, everything you need. It's just a matter of us networking it in together. So that's wonderful.
Networking it in, building trust and building accountability. So it's one thing to be a part of a village, but you have to also be accountable to that village and make sure that you're reliable. So I just want to touch on the areas that we're training within TREC, and then I can take the next question. So we're going to have an entrepreneur development hub. So these are, again, for people that want to start a business, don't know how. We'll be able to walk you through the process, paperwork, locations for websites, things that a law firm or someone would charge you a lot of money for. We're going to make sure it's offered for free. Advanced manufacturing, transportation, and training room. So the days of having a diesel mechanic and a regular auto mechanic are different, especially as we have electric vehicles, electric 18-wheeler trucks hauling things. We're going to have different type of mechanics now. We're going to have hardware mechanics. And so the advanced manufacturing and transportation, we're going to focus on training people around technology and the utilization of technology in the transportation sector, but then also within that manufacturing field, because a lot of the manufacturing companies are using robotics to build their cars and no longer the assembly line of just people. Hydroponics and urban farming center. Again, we have a partner in Black Oaks that, we work with and do a lot of real life gardening and teaching kids and students how to really be farmers and how to grow their own food and nurture and maintain it. And so that's going to be a component of the TREC as well, the Innovation Center. And then we have robotics, automation, engineering, design, animation, UR, UX, cybersecurity, and emerging technology. And then we're also planning to have a film and media component as well that is built in through some partnerships with a couple good brothers that own some studios that we can connect in and tie in. So we're going to look to make sure we cover almost every industry for our folks. We also have been having some conversations to possibly include the financial component as well, so financial training. We're not talking about financial literacy. We're talking about actually training people for financial industry jobs. And so we're in conversations with a national bank. I'm not going to disclose who they are, because we're still doing that, and I'm not going to get them free press. But the point is, we want to make sure that we cover that financial component as well within TREC when it comes to people being able to come to learn, to develop and understand how to utilize their gift, regardless of what field it's in. So that's what we're going to be offering. And then on top of that, we will have a work club model, sort of like, it's a work club model where people that want to pay a fee to have office space, have access to conference rooms and a high-level business concierge services that we spoke of. They'll be able to pay a fee to have that membership, have an office there and a mailbox there, to run their business, even if they're running their home business, but they'll at least have an office per se that they can come to and utilize to show that outward facing position when they're going after contracts or grants, as you build your capacity. So we're really going to look to do what we can to support the whole development around workforce development, training, and innovation. We're going to make sure we do our part to make sure that, at least people in Chicago, and then hopefully the goal is to take this thing nationwide now, people that we're not left behind, that we're not leaving people behind. Because again, the greatest asset that you can't replace is people. I don't care how many robots you create. I don't care how many computers you utilize. The reality is, I haven't seen a robot that is a farmer yet. I haven't seen a robot that is a teacher yet, per se. We still need human capital, human people, right, to understand how we integrate technology into the new world that technology and automation has been forming, over the past, 15 years easy. I mean, you think about when the internet really had big, that's when that was really that start of the utilization of technology and connecting people, that may be far away, as if they're right next door, being able to connect people right like we're talking now. I mean, think about it. There wasn't a Zoom back when I was in high school, back growing up. Heck, I didn't have a smartphone growing up. We had flip phones, and we had even going back when I was young, there was beepers. I mean, so anyway, but that's what we're doing.
And
with
you
Track.
had actual phones. You had to put a quarter in to pay phones, and worry about getting robbed.
The rotary phones where you had to, rotate that thing with the number over my grandma in them house. Like it's, so it's a different day. But that's what we're looking to do with Track. And Track is really that second prong, of the Fabric and Fabric Brands team, two-pronged strategy to do our part, to support and help the community, which we hope then will make life better for government and everyone else as well. We can make sure we redirect our resources to develop people earlier versus trying to develop people later in life, then I think that'll cut down then on some of the needs within the government budgets to where we can redirect that stuff, for other things that people really want to do that could truly help add to the quality of life of city, state, and county governments.
Nah, man, this, it's just amazing that you guys are already in work. This isn't just a pipe dream. It's in work right now. And I just commend all of you guys for doing it. And I look forward to working with you guys for a very, very long time, because we got the world to worry about, but we got to cover home base first.
We're excited. I mean, we're excited. We're happy about the work that you guys have been doing. Staying together, connecting people, making sure awareness and alertness to the ground, to the community, to your neighbors, caring for your neighbor. Because I mean, I know that used to be a big foundation of, the American society, so to speak. There was, regardless of whether we, had, racial issues and things like that, there still was a point in time in our history here where family was important for both Blacks, whites, Hispanics, you name it. And not even just family, but your neighbor. You knew who your neighbor was. You knew who they were. And then that neighbor, in some cases, had the authority to call you out if you was acting up, if you was out of line. And in fact, there was a point in time where neighbors were allowed to whoop you just like your parents whooped you, when that stuff wasn't considered taboo and being very bad. But we have to we have to correct people, like as kids and as young people. No, there's a limitation on your knowledge. There's a limitation on your understanding of how this world works or what you're walking into in this world. So correction is needed. Boundaries are needed to help keep people from doing things that have the ability to cause traumatic stress and experience, not just on themselves, but on the family members that care about them. So the mindset of making sure that we get back to knowing our neighbor, being aware of our neighbors, supporting our neighbors, and working collectively with our neighbors from block to block, that's just an old school fundamental way that we used to live and how we used to get down. That's nothing new. That's not new technology. But what has happened is we've drifted away from that model. And part of the reason why we've drifted away from that model is because of not making sure that some of these needs that we're dealing with around the impact fund that we're going to be creating, some of these needs around homelessness, hunger, economic development, and equity resources, they haven't been met. So people have this mentality of that I got to go out here and meet these needs that are basic needs, but then in doing so, we're distracted. Our time is consumed chasing other things versus building on the most important thing, which is your neighbor and your resources and their talent. So that way, hey man, I need $1, I need some bread. Oh, Go next door. They got you until you get your stuff together. Oh, you had a hard time. The company's laying people off because they've made some changes. No problem. Let's see how we can support you. Let's see how we can work through, the layoffs that are happening, because there's always going to be changes in the atmosphere in life. There's always going to be layoffs. There's going to be setbacks. There's always going to be pandemics. Like this stuff is biblical. Regardless of what your religion is, what you believe, the Bible is very clear in terms of what we are going to encounter as we walk through this life. The question is, are we going to utilize wisdom, meaning the awareness that, yeah, this is actually going to happen, but but there is a response for it. There's a way to get through it. There's a way to navigate through it and around it to where we don't have to destroy each other, and we don't have to destroy, the foundations that are needed to make sure that we are, collectively working together and able to overcome any challenge that comes our way. Anything
that comes our way. Man, we covered the gamut, man. And I think at least it'll make it easier for me to have my conversation with our leaders. So the website is what? So people can take a peek at the website.
We have two websites. For the Impact House, it is www.thefabric.com. So that's where you can go and see the work that's already happening there around the Impact House. You can see the organizations that are members, that are grantors, and then you can just, read a little bit more. I think there even may be an opportunity to apply for some stuff there or create an account to seek out information and grants already that some of those organizations do. So that's the Fabric Impact House website. And then we have the TREC website focus, which is www.fbrandsllc.com. So www.fbrandsllc.com. That's the site where you can go see everything about TREC and everything that we're doing there that speaks about the focus and how we're targeting that. And that has, the projected location here for TREC, where it will be located. We were looking in Chicago. We chose Motor Row because there's a lot of history there, but it's an easy connectivity between the south and the west sides there on Motor Row, being able to access that, and also the north side. But then, too, we wanted to make sure we revive a certain part of the city that also, has not been given the attention that we thought and other people thought will occur within that South Loop area. So,
nah, man, I look forward to the future, man. So I want to thank you for taking time out on this Wednesday, and we go talk offline, man, about next steps and how we press forward.
We appreciate the opportunity to connect with you. We're looking forward to working with you all, and we're excited about the impact that we know we're going to be able to make in changing people's lives, man, and providing a source of hope and a source of opportunity for people that have long needed it. And then, look forward to taking this show on the road for sure.
Well, Nike's motto, man. We just go do it, all right?
Good, baby.
Cool. The rest of your day, man. I appreciate you, Dewan.
Well, certainly. Have a good day.
Right.
Talk to you.
Thanks. Peace.